The modern world teaches us something very strange. From a young age, we are told that happiness is something we must chase. We are encouraged to work harder, achieve more, earn more money, gain recognition, and constantly push ourselves toward the next goal. It creates the feeling that happiness is always somewhere ahead of us, waiting at the next milestone. But if this were truly the path to happiness, then the people who have already achieved these things would be the most peaceful and fulfilled. Yet when we look closely, we see something different. Many people who seem to have everything still carry a quiet restlessness inside. This raises an important question. If more success and more achievements were supposed to make us happy, why do so many people still feel unsatisfied? Buddhist wisdom offers a simple but powerful answer. True happiness does not come from endlessly adding more things to our lives. In fact, much of our inner struggle comes from the opposite. The mind becomes heavy with constant desires, worries, expectations, and comparisons. According to Buddhist teachings, real happiness begins when we slowly start removing the mental burdens that disturb our peace. In this video, we will explore 7 powerful lessons inspired by Buddhist philosophy that can quietly transform the way you experience life. These are not complicated spiritual theories or distant ideas meant only for monks in temples. They are simple shifts in awareness that anyone can practice in daily life. Small changes in the way we think, respond, and understand the world. And once these lessons begin to take root, something surprising happens. Happiness stops feeling like a distant destination and starts becoming a natural part of everyday living. Lesson 1. The mind learns to see what it appreciates. Many people spend years believing that happiness will finally arrive when life becomes perfect, when the right job appears, when more money is earned, when recognition comes, or when every problem disappears. The mind quietly creates a condition for happiness, telling us that peace will only come after everything falls into place. But Buddhist philosophy offers a very different understanding. It teaches that happiness does not depend on perfect circumstances. Instead, it depends on the way the mind learns to look at life. The world we experience is deeply influenced by where our attention rests. 2 people can live in the same city, work similar jobs, and face similar challenges, yet their experience of life can feel completely different. One mind constantly searches for what is missing. It notices every inconvenience, every delay, every small disappointment. Over time, this habit creates a feeling that life is always lacking something. But another mind, living in the same conditions, quietly notices what is already present. A peaceful morning, a meaningful conversation, the comfort of a familiar place, or even the simple rhythm of breathing. The outer world may be the same, but the inner experience becomes entirely different. In Buddhist teaching, this shift in awareness is very powerful. The mind gradually becomes what it repeatedly practices. If it practices noticing absence, it grows restless and dissatisfied. But if it practices recognizing small blessings, it begins to cultivate contentment. This does not mean pretending that life is perfect or ignoring difficulties. Instead, it means allowing the mind to see the full picture of life, where beauty and struggle exist together. When awareness becomes wiser, something subtle begins to change. Moments that once felt ordinary start to carry a quiet sense of richness, the warmth of sunlight, the kindness of another person, the calm found in a single peaceful moment. Life itself has not suddenly become easier, yet the heart experiences it differently. In this way, Buddhist wisdom reminds us that happiness is not only shaped by what happens to us, but also by what the mind learns to appreciate each day. Lesson 2. Happiness grows in meaningful connections. In a world that constantly celebrates independence, ambition, and personal achievement, many people slowly drift away from something far more essential. They chase success, accolades, and personal milestones, believing these will fill the emptiness inside. Yet Buddhist wisdom gently reminds us that our lives are deeply interconnected. True happiness is not something we can gather alone, no matter how much we achieve. It is cultivated in the spaces where hearts meet, where understanding and care flow between people, and where the quiet presence of another human being nourishes the soul. The warmth of a genuine friendship, the comforting presence of family, or even a moment of understanding shared between two people carries a depth of fulfillment that wealth or accomplishments alone can never provide. Happiness is not just an internal feeling detached from others. It grows in shared laughter, in supportive conversations, in the silent reassurance that someone sees and accepts us for who we are. Buddhist philosophy teaches that these connections are not optional extras, they are essential for a life that is truly joyful. Every interaction, every act of care, and every moment of empathy strengthens the invisible threads that weave us into the world, and these threads hold far more value than fleeting successes. Consider the simple acts that create these connections. A conversation with a friend that brings comfort, a shared meal that sparks laughter, or a small gesture of kindness that reminds someone they are not alone. Even in moments of struggle, when life feels heavy, it is the bonds we cultivate that provide resilience and warmth. Success may give temporary satisfaction, but it is the meaningful connections we nurture that sustain long-term happiness. Buddhist teachings encourage us to turn our attention outward, to care deeply for those around us, and to recognize that the joy we give often returns multiplied. In this way, happiness is not a solitary pursuit, it is a shared experience that grows strongest when hearts are connected. Lesson 3. Most suffering comes from living outside the present. The human mind has a curious habit that shapes much of our suffering. It rarely stays in the only place where life truly exists, the present moment. Instead, it constantly wanders. At times, it revisits the past, replaying mistakes, regrets, or moments that cannot be changed. Other times, it races ahead, imagining worries and fears about a future that has not yet arrived. In both cases, the mind becomes trapped in illusions, either clinging to what has already passed or fearing what might come, and in the process, it misses the life that is unfolding right now. Buddhist philosophy teaches that this wandering mind is the root of much of human dissatisfaction. Happiness and peace are rarely found by thinking about what was or what might be. They are discovered when we gently return our attention to the present moment. This does not mean denying the past or ignoring the future, but simply bringing awareness back to the here and now, moment by moment. When the mind practices this, something remarkable begins to happen. Thoughts no longer dominate the consciousness, and the constant chatter that creates anxiety and restlessness begins to quiet down. As awareness of the present deepens, life starts to reveal its subtle richness. Ordinary moments that once seemed dull or routine suddenly carry meaning. A warm cup of tea, the soft rustle of leaves, a smile from a stranger. Simple experiences become vivid, and a sense of clarity emerges that was hidden when the mind was lost in time. Buddhist teachings encourage small daily practices to cultivate this awareness, whether it is focusing on the breath, paying attention to the sensations of walking, or simply observing the world around with gentle curiosity. Through this, suffering gradually diminishes, and the mind learns that happiness is not somewhere else, but always accessible in the living, breathing present. Lesson 4. A meaningful life is more powerful than a perfect life. Many people spend their entire lives chasing an illusion. They believe that if they can just become perfect, flawless in their work, relationships, and self-image, they will finally find happiness. They meticulously avoid mistakes, constantly compare themselves to others, and set impossible standards that no one could ever fully meet. Yet the mind is clever. Even when small goals are achieved, it whispers that it is not enough, that something is still missing, that perfection is still just beyond reach. The pursuit of flawlessness becomes a treadmill, endlessly exhausting and rarely satisfying. Buddhist wisdom teaches that this chase is not the path to happiness. Perfection is a moving target that can never bring true peace. Instead, Buddhist philosophy invites a profound shift in perspective. Rather than asking, "Am I perfect?" we are encouraged to ask, "Am I living with purpose?" Living with purpose does not require us to be flawless. It does not demand that every action, every thought, or every achievement meets a rigid standard. Purpose is far simpler, yet far deeper. It asks that our actions align with what truly matters to us, that they reflect our values, our passions, and the intentions we hold in our hearts. Even small acts carried out with genuine meaning can transform a day, a relationship, or even the way we experience ourselves. Purpose turns ordinary actions into expressions of authenticity, giving life a sense of direction and fulfillment that perfection alone could never provide. When life is guided by purpose, something remarkable happens. Imperfections no longer feel like failures. Mistakes become lessons, challenges become opportunities, and setbacks become steps on a path of growth. Each moment, no matter how small or imperfect, begins to hold significance. The mind learns to see meaning in effort rather than just outcome, and the heart finds satisfaction in the alignment between action and intention. Buddhist teachings remind us that a meaningful life is alive with awareness and connection, while a perfect life may feel hollow and distant. When we focus on purpose instead of perfection, the weight of self-criticism lifts, and a quiet confidence arises. Life is no longer a race to meet endless standards, but a journey of authenticity, growth, and intention. In this way, purpose transforms the ordinary into something deeply fulfilling, and happiness becomes not a destination, but a natural companion to living well. Lesson 5. Change is not the enemy, it is the teacher. One of the deepest insights in Buddhist philosophy is the understanding of impermanence. Everything in life is constantly shifting. Relationships evolve, circumstances shift, and even our own thoughts and emotions are never static. Life moves forward in a continuous flow, whether we are ready for it or not. Yet so much of human suffering arises from resisting this natural movement. We cling to what feels familiar. We try to hold on to people, possessions, or situations as if they could remain unchanged forever. This resistance creates tension, disappointment, and fear, because life, by its very nature, cannot be frozen. We often mistake control for security. We attempt to manipulate outcomes, keep things exactly as they are, or plan meticulously to avoid any disruption. While some planning is necessary, the mind often becomes trapped in the illusion that stability and predictability are the same as happiness. Buddhist wisdom gently challenges this belief. It invites us to see change not as a threat, but as a teacher. When we adopt this perspective, even difficult transitions, endings, or unexpected shifts begin to reveal lessons hidden in plain sight. Every moment of uncertainty becomes an opportunity to understand ourselves and the world more deeply. Seeing change as a teacher requires a shift in mindset. Instead of asking why life is happening to us, we begin to ask what life is teaching us. An ending, whether of a job, a relationship, or a chapter in life, is not merely a loss. It is a doorway to growth, reflection, and new experiences. Each transition carries the potential for insight. When we stop resisting, we allow ourselves to observe, reflect, and learn from the natural rhythms of life. This practice gradually transforms fear into curiosity and anxiety into acceptance. Buddhism emphasizes that this approach does not mean we will not feel sadness, disappointment, or grief. These emotions are part of being human. The difference lies in how we relate to them. By recognizing the impermanent nature of all things, we can meet challenges with presence, patience, and clarity. We learn to navigate change with awareness rather than reaction. responding to life's twists and turns with wisdom rather than frustration. The mind becomes less burdened by what cannot be controlled, and we begin to experience a sense of freedom and fluidity in our journey. Ultimately, embracing change as a teacher allows life to feel less like something we must control and more like something we can learn from. Every shift, every ending, and every new beginning carries insight that can enrich our understanding and expand our capacity for happiness. Instead of resisting the inevitable, we welcome it, seeing in each moment the lessons that guide us toward growth, resilience, and inner peace. Change is not an enemy to fear or fight against. It is a constant companion, quietly instructing us in the art of living fully, moment by moment, and revealing that true wisdom and contentment arise not from holding on, but from learning to flow with the river of life. Lesson 6. Inner peace requires caring for the mind. In the modern world, the mind is constantly under siege. Notifications demand attention, news floods in from every direction, responsibilities pile up, and endless streams of information keep the brain spinning without pause. Over time, this constant stimulation exhausts the mind, leaving it restless, scattered, and overwhelmed. Buddhist philosophy reminds us that the mind, like the body, requires care and nourishment. Just as we eat, exercise, and rest to maintain physical health, the mind also needs space to recover, reflect, and restore its natural balance. Without this care, clarity fades, stress accumulates, and true inner peace becomes impossible to find. One of the simplest yet most profound ways to care for the mind is through moments of silence. Even a few minutes each day spent in quiet reflection allows the mind to settle, separating the essential from the unnecessary. These pauses give the brain an opportunity to release tension, to stop racing ahead, and to reconnect with the present moment. Buddhist teachings emphasize that these moments are not a luxury, but a necessity. They help cultivate clarity and focus, allowing the mind to respond rather than react to the constant pressures of life. Silence, though subtle, has the power to rejuvenate the spirit in ways that activity and productivity alone never can. Spending time in nature is another timeless practice. The gentle rustle of leaves, the flow of a river, or the warmth of sunlight on the skin serves as a reminder of life's natural rhythms. Nature has a way of calming the restless mind, grounding awareness, and reconnecting us to something larger than ourselves. Buddhist philosophy teaches that by observing and engaging with the natural world, the mind learns patience, humility, and presence. These experiences restore inner balance, offering clarity and calm that no amount of external success can provide. Mindful breathing is a simple yet transformative practice that can be done anywhere. Focusing on the flow of air in and out of the body anchors attention in the present, slowing the endless mental chatter that fuels stress and distraction. Even brief moments of mindful breathing train the mind to return to calmness and clarity, reinforcing the connection between awareness and peace. By integrating these small yet consistent practices into daily life, the mind gradually develops resilience against the pressures of modern living. Ultimately, caring for the mind allows inner peace to emerge naturally. Clarity returns, and with clarity comes a calm that is independent of external circumstances. Success, possessions, or recognition may offer temporary satisfaction, but they cannot create lasting serenity. Buddhist teachings remind us that true contentment begins within. When we treat the mind with the same attention and care we give the body, we cultivate a deep and enduring calm, a sense of stability and wisdom that guides every action, thought, and interaction. In this way, the mind becomes a sanctuary, capable of sustaining happiness regardless of the chaos outside. Lesson 7. Real happiness expands when it is shared. Many people live with the belief that happiness is something to be gathered for themselves, as if it were a treasure to hoard and protect. They focus on achieving, accumulating, and securing pleasures, thinking that this will fill the emptiness inside. Yet Buddhist philosophy teaches a profoundly different perspective. True happiness does not shrink when shared, it grows. Every act of kindness, every gesture of generosity, every moment of genuine compassion sends ripples far beyond what the eye can see. In giving, the mind and heart experience a joy that is deeper and more enduring than anything received for oneself alone. Consider the simplest acts: a smile to a stranger, a word of encouragement to a friend, or helping someone in need may seem small in the moment, yet their effects are remarkable. The person receiving the kindness feels supported, seen, and uplifted. At the same time, the person giving also experiences a quiet warmth, a sense of fulfillment that comes not from recognition, reward, or return, but from the act itself. Buddhist teachings remind us that generosity is not measured by the size of the gift, but by the intention behind it. Even small, mindful acts of care strengthen the heart and open the mind to a larger sense of connection. Over time, this practice of giving transforms more than just individual moments. It dissolves the illusion of separation between self and others, revealing the deep interconnectedness of all beings. When we recognize that our joy and the joy of others are intertwined, happiness begins to expand naturally. Compassion becomes a bridge, linking hearts and fostering a sense of belonging that cannot be found through selfish pursuits alone. The more freely we share, the more abundant life feels. Buddhist wisdom encourages us to make generosity a habit, not a one-time gesture. The cumulative effect of small acts of kindness reshapes the way we perceive the world. Instead of seeing life as a collection of things to acquire or struggles to endure, we begin to see it as an opportunity to uplift others while cultivating our own inner joy. This awareness transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary, allowing happiness to flow effortlessly between people and moments. Ultimately, real happiness is not confined to the self. It is discovered in the spaces where we give, connect, and care. When we live in a way that embraces generosity and compassion, life becomes richer, more meaningful, and more joyful. Buddhist philosophy teaches that the heart grows fuller, not by hoarding pleasure, but by freely sharing it. In this shared joy, happiness becomes a living, breathing force that continually renews itself, creating a life that is not just content, but profoundly alive. Closing reflection. At the end of the day, true happiness is rarely found in dramatic life changes or grand achievements. It does not arrive only after we reach a distant goal or overcome every challenge. More often, it appears quietly, in subtle shifts in how we perceive the world around us. A mind trained in gratitude notices beauty in places once overlooked. Simple moments, a warm sunrise, a shared smile, the laughter of a friend, begin to carry meaning. Relationships that are nurtured with care and attention bring warmth to otherwise ordinary days, turning them into experiences filled with connection and comfort. Living fully in the present moment reveals a richness that was always there, patiently waiting for us to pay attention. When the mind is not lost in the past or anxiously rushing toward the future, every sensation, every encounter, every small experience begins to feel vivid and alive. The ordinary transforms into the extraordinary, not because the circumstances have changed, but because our awareness has shifted. Buddhist philosophy teaches that this simple yet profound change in perspective holds the key to lasting contentment. When we release the endless pursuit of perfection, we allow ourselves to act with purpose and intention, embracing our flaws and learning from our mistakes. When we welcome change rather than resist it, the world no longer feels like something to control, but a teacher offering lessons at every turn. Caring for our inner world, our thoughts, emotions, and mental well-being brings clarity and calm that external achievements alone can never provide. And when we extend kindness and generosity to others, happiness grows beyond the self, creating bonds that nourish both giver and receiver. Something remarkable begins to happen when these practices are woven into daily life. Life becomes lighter, not because challenges vanish, but because wisdom guides the way we experience them. We learn to meet difficulties with presence, patience, and understanding, and to recognize joy even in the smallest moments. Happiness is no longer a distant dream or a prize to chase. It becomes a living practice, quietly cultivated with each mindful thought, intentional action, and compassionate gesture. Perhaps the most beautiful truth of all is this: happiness is not a destination. It is a journey, unfolding moment by moment, within the mind and heart that are willing to notice, appreciate, and share. Each act of gratitude, each connection nurtured, each moment lived fully, and each act of kindness brings us closer to a life that is not only peaceful and content, but deeply meaningful and alive. Happiness is something we create quietly, patiently, and intentionally, one moment at a time.